In this week's Sedra, we read about the story of Shifra and Puah, the Hebrew midwives who were commanded by the king to kill all the newborn Hebrew boys. This was a difficult test. How were they going to overcome this? And they did overcome it. Not only did they not do what they were told by the king, they feared Hashem. The Pasuk says that they feared Hashem and they didn't do it, and they kept the boys alive. Not only that, the Midrash tells us that they were particularly careful and looked after the sick and unhealthy babies. And Hashem, of course, rewards their actions. We're told in the Pasuk that they received their just deserts for this wonderful thing that they did. Let's have a look at the Psukim. The Psukim say, Vayitev Elohim lam yaldot, and God was good to the midwives. Vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od, and the people multiplied and became very strong. And it was ki yaruham yaldot et Elohim, because the midwives feared God. Vayas lahem batim, he made for them houses. And of course, the famous Rashi there tells us that these houses were the houses of kahuna, of priesthood, and melucha, and kingship. Kohanim came from Yocheved, who was the mother of Aharon, and Miriam was the ancestress of the house of David, came from the kings. So we see clearly that they were given rewards by Hashem. But the Pasuk needs a little bit of explanation, because there's a bit in between there that doesn't quite fit in. And I said it earlier on, Vayitev Elohim lam yaldot, and God was good to the midwives, Vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od, and the people multiplied and became very strong. And then it says, because they feared God, they got the houses, they got this reward. So what's this bit in the middle there? And the people multiplied and became very strong. And it can be explained with a story. There was a person who had a beautiful little baby boy, but he was very, very prem, and he had to be cared for in the hospital for many, many months. He was a few months old when he went home, 4 or 5 months old. And for those 4 or 5 months, the nurses on the special care baby unit had looked after this baby and had showered it with attention and care. And eventually, after 4 or 5 months, with a great fanfare, the parents took the baby home. And they wanted to buy a present for the nurses and the staff on the special care baby unit who looked after this child so well. And they racked their brains, what could they get for them? What would be an appropriate gift for these wonderful nurses who showered this child with such great care? And they went to ask various people, what should they do? And eventually somebody said to them, you know what? They don't need boxes of chocolate, and they don't need perfume and all that kind of gear. Why don't you take the child every year on his birthday and show the staff, let them share the joy of his growth and his success? That will be the most wonderful gift that you can give them. And this is what was going on here. This is what was going on here with this pasuk. The Torah says the additional reward which were given to the midwives, which was the batim, they became head of these houses. But the real reward was vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od. The real reward was that they saw that the nation prospered. What did they want as midwives going against this edict of the king? They wanted one thing only. They wanted the propagation of their nation. And that was their first reward. The gift of the houses of the priesthood and royalty, these were an added bonus, which Hashem was pleased to give them. But as far as the midwives were concerned, the greatest reward was the joy in seeing that the children they delivered flourished and that the nation prospered and grew. All the risks were worth it for that knowledge alone. And so the Torah tells us, Vayitev Elohim lam yaldot, Vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od. Hashem was good to the midwives, and the nation grew and flourished, because for them, that was the greatest reward. The rest was just the icing on the cake. And really, the main reward that they received was to see how their work brought about flourishing nation. And that's a lesson for all of us, that what we do should not be for what we get out of it ourselves, but for what we can bring to the people and the nation and our people. Shabbat Shalom.